Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video. Before the video starts, I need you to do two things to help this channel grow. One is subscribe down below, and the second is like this video and share it with anybody that you want to spread MMA news to, whether it's family, friends, anybody. I always appreciate your support. And now let's get to the video. Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler Russo, and this is the KO Podcast, episode number 40. In this episode, I will be reviewing UFC Fight Night, Pavlovich vs. Blades. I also will be reviewing Bellator 294 and Bellator 295. And this upcoming weekend, we have UFC Fight Night Song vs. Simone. Ring that bell. All right, let's get to UFC Fight Night, Pavlovich vs. Blades. We had a bantamweight matchup. We had Brady Heinzman getting the comeback victory over Dana Bagirl. I believe that's how you say his last name. Very impressive comeback for Heinzman. Moving on, we had a featherweight matchup. We had Francis Marshall taking on William Gomez, and William Gomez gets the decision victory. Moving on, we had a heavyweight bout. We had Muhammad Usman taking on Junior Tafa, and Muhammad Usman gets the decision victory. Next up was a women's featherweight bout. We had Carol Rosa taking on Norma Dumont, and Norma Dumont gets the decision victory. She wants a shot at the women's featherweight belt, it's obviously held by Amanda Nunes. So Dumont wants Nunes next after her title fight with Julia Pena for the bantamweight championship. I mean, I say why not, because even Norma Dumont pointed this out. Amanda Nunes has not defended the belt in over 2 years, so I mean, that is pretty ridiculous. I would say she's holding up the women's featherweight division, but there is no women's featherweight division except for Amanda Nunes, so she kind of runs the show there. But Norma Dumont, give her a title shot. Why not, after Amanda Nunes takes on Julia Pena in their trilogy fight? Moving on, we had a bantamweight bout. We had Rainy Yana, I believe that's how you say his name, taking on Montel Jackson, and Montel Jackson gets the TKO finish by brutal ground and pound. I believe it was a hook that caught Yana, and then Montel Jackson finishes with ground and pound. Very good performance by him. Up next, we had a lightweight bout. We had Rick Glenn taking on Christos Gagos. I believe that's how you say his last name, and Christos Gagos gets the TKO victory, caught Glenn with a good shot, and finished him after that. Moving on now to the main card, we had a welterweight bout. We had Jeremiah Wells taking on Matthew Semelsberger, and what a first round this was. Crazy that Semelsberger did not finish Wells. What resilience Jeremiah Wells has. I thought he was going to get finished a couple times in the opening round, but he survives, and Jeremiah Wells gets the decision victory. What a victory by Wells. Like I said, he was hurt really bad in the opening minutes of the first round, but picks up the decision victory. Next up, we had a women's flyweight bout. We had Isman Lucido taking on Brogan Walker, and Lucido gets the decision victory. She is a bright prospect in this division. She is only 21 years old, and at 14-5, she's got a lot of experience for her age. Moving on, we had a lightweight bout. We had Bobby Green taking on Jared Gordon, and unfortunately, Bobby Green connected with a headbutt inadvertently with Jared Gordon, but that put Jared Gordon down and hurt him really bad. Bobby Green followed up and finished the fight like he was supposed to, but once they reviewed the fight, it was ruled a no contest because Green's headbutt dictated the ending of the fight. So I hope both of these guys run it back. because why not? They both have unfinished business, but very disappointing end for both Green and Gordon in that one. Moving on, we had a middleweight co-main event. We had Brad Tavares taking on Bruno Silva, and Bruno Silva gets the finish over Tavares in the first round. Bruno Silva is always a knockout machine. I believe he has 20 career KOs now out of his 23 career wins. Very impressive. Now, moving on to the heavyweight main event, we had Sergey Pavlovich taking on Curtis Blades, and Sergey Pavlovich gets the finish in the first round. Blades elected not to grapple at all. He really only tried to grapple once he was kind of already in trouble. I was expecting Blades to grapple within, 30 seconds to 60 seconds of the fight. He kept it standing, though, through the whole time, and I was waiting for Blades to shoot on a takedown or something like that, but again, like I said, he chose to stand with Blades, and like I said last week, he got knocked out. So it seemed like every Pavlovich shot that landed clean really hurt Blades, and then Pavlovich threw this beautiful, it was almost like a uppercut straight, but it found the chin, and that's really what had Blades hurt and in trouble. And then Pavlovich saw that Blades was hurt and went in for the finish. And man, he goes for the finish. He does not stop until the ref pulls him off. So a big win for Sergey Pavlovich. He definitely has a case to be the next in line for the heavyweight belt. So if Jones and Stipe, if that fight doesn't come to fruition, Sergey Pavlovich is waiting for John Jones. That would be a crazy fight, having a technical fighter like John Jones taking on a guy with power and speed like Sergey Pavlovich. That would be fun to see how John Jones handles that challenge. So that is it for UFC. Now let's get to the two Bellator events. Bellator 294 took place in Honolulu, Hawaii. It was the first event of a double night of Bellator action. So let's get into this card. Before this card started, we had a lot of weight misses. Unfortunately, Deanna Bennett did miss weight for this main event, so she was ineligible to win the title, but Liz Carmouche still put the belt on the line. If Liz Carmouche lost, she would vacate the belt. I have never really seen a champion do that before, but it's very commendable for Liz Carmouche to had put her belt on the line when it didn't need to be put on the line. And also, we had Ray Borg and Kiani Diggs. They both missed weight for catch weight fights, and Scott Coker and Bellator just cut them right after they did not go to the scales to make a catch weight. Both of them had catch weight. Ray Borg obviously has had weight cutting issues, and unfortunately, this event led to Ray Borg announcing his retirement over Instagram. So a very sad situation. I wish nothing but the best for both men. And Ray Borg, such a bad ending to, a really good career. It seemed like he kind of had a resurgence with Eagle FC, but I hope him all of the best. And Kiani Diggs, I hope him all of the best. But Bellator, yep, they cut both of those guys right away. And I'm pretty sure the reason why that they cut both men was because it was catch weight fights and they just didn't even make it to the weigh-in. They did not even step on the scale. So Scott Coker was very agitated about those weight misses. Now let's get to the prelims of Bellator 294. Starting it off, we had Chris Lencioni getting a submission victory. We had Tyrell Fortune getting a disqualification win over Sergey Belomsky. I believe that's how you say his last name. The DQ was because of punches to the back of the head on Sergey's part. So Tyrell Fortune gets a DQ victory. I'm sure that's not how he wanted to get the W. Moving on, we had Killis Mata getting a submission over Kenneth Cross. And now let's get to the main card. Kicking off the main card, we had a welterweight bout. We had Levin Cocacelli taking on Michael Lombardo, and Cocacelli gets the decision victory. Moving on, we had a bantamweight bout. We had Danny Sabatello taking on Marcos Breno, and Danny Sabatello gets the submission victory. He definitely let his hands go way more in this fight, employed much more ground and pound, so great win for Sabatello. Moving on, we had a women's featherweight bout. We had Arlene Blanchko taking on the debuting Sarah McMahon, and Sarah McMahon gets the decision victory. It was a close fight for a couple moments when Blanchko landed a clean shot. Sarah McMahon was visibly rocked, but her wrestling came in and, saved her from getting a finish. Of course, Sarah McMahon, an Olympic level wrestler, so that was a big weapon of hers, and she is now ranked in the women's Bellator featherweight division, or she should be ranked whenever they release their rankings next. Moving on now to the co-main event of the evening, we had a heavyweight bout. We had Tim Johnson taking on Saeed Swame, and Tim Johnson gets the decision victory in that one. Now moving on to the main event, we had a women's flyweight world title fight. We had the champion Liz Carmouche taking on Deanna Bennett. And very interesting fight. The first 3 rounds, to me, it was 3-0 Deanna Bennett. Then in the fourth, Liz Carmouche gets the submission victory, so she retains her title. Very disappointing loss for Deanna Bennett. I hope that she comes back and, fights, because, if she can make weight, I just feel that she could maybe compete again for the Bellator championship, but obviously that weight miss kind of puts a damper on that fight for her. But another close fight with these two women. They're a great matchup for each other. And again, Liz Carmouche submits Deanna Bennett. Deanna Bennett had a really good fight up until she got submitted. So shout out to her for going out there and putting on a good performance, even though she had weight. She had the weight issue, but, again, great fight from both of these ladies. Liz Carmouche stays the Bellator flyweight world champion. I cannot wait to see what the next matchup is for her. Now, let's go to the next night at Bellator 295. And night 2 of Bellator was Bellator 295 in the same place. And this card was very, very good. Let's start in the prelims. We had Mads Burnell taking on Justin Gonzalez, and Mads Burnell gets the decision victory. We had Kai Kamako III taking on Ali Edwards, and Kai Kamako III gets the decision victory in a very impressive performance. He did a lot of body work, a lot of kicks to the body. He looked sharp as ever, and he is getting into a very, very polished form of himself. He's improved so much since he's made the move to Extreme Couture, and he's worked with, just the coaches there, and they have really improved his game. Eric Nixick has really helped Kai out, just improving and rounding out his game. So congratulations on the W to Kai Kamako III. Hopefully he gets a ranked opponent. I think he deserves it. He is always ready to fight. He's always looking to fight, and he always makes weight. So definitely, if you have not already, keep an eye out on Kai Kamako III. Moving on, we had a women's flyweight bout. We had Samiko Inaba taking on Veta Ortega, and Samiko Inaba gets the decision victory. She almost finished Ortega in the last couple seconds of the fight, if I'm remembering correctly. She is definitely a prospect to watch out in this women's flyweight division. She is now 6-0. Moving on, we had a lightweight bout. We had Arnold Cruz taking on Bobby King, and Cruz gets the victory. And we had a heavyweight bout. We had Davion Franklin getting the W. And we had a women's flyweight bout. We had Bruno Ella getting a decision victory as well. Now, moving on to the main card. Kicking off this main card, we had a featherweight bout. We had Aaron Pico making his return after his shoulder injury, and he takes on the always tough James Gonzalez, and Aaron Pico gets the decision victory. He looked like the old Aaron Pico, and it's exciting to see Aaron Pico at 100% because he is violent when he throws. He throws everything into his punches, and I just love watching him fight. And shout out to James Gonzalez, tough as nails in this fight. I hope Bellator brings him back. You know, this guy is just a fighter that you want on your roster. He's a guy that's going to take a fight anytime, anywhere. And you know, I watched Justin Gonzalez make his Bellator debut against Cody Law, and you know, he's got that dog in him, James Gonzalez. So I know he didn't get the victory, but congratulations on staying in there with Aaron Pico and not getting finished. That is very tough to do in its own right. Moving on, we had a lightweight bout. We had Yancy Medeiros taking on Charlie Leary, and Yancy Medeiros gets the submission victory in the first. But what a first round by these two gentlemen. They were swinging and banging, and Yancy Medeiros really hurt Leary, and that turned into him submitting Leary. Shout out to these two men for putting on a banger of a fight, and Yancy Medeiros gets a win in Hawaii. You know, that's big for him, big for all of the Hawaiian fighters that picked up wins on this card. Moving on now, we had a women's flyweight co-main event. We had the former Bellator flyweight champion, Lima-Lei Macfarlane. She took on Kanta Wannabe, and Lima-Lei Macfarlane squeaks out a razor-thin decision. This fight was pretty damn close. I wasn't even sure who won, after the fight, after that final bell. It could have been either woman, to be honest. I wouldn't have been mad if it was Wannabe because it was that close of a fight, but Lima-Lei Macfarlane gets the nod, and she's looking to fight Liz Carmouche for the flyweight championship. I think this would be her last fight. She wants to retire as the champion. Of course, Liz Carmouche and her are really great friends too, so that's another element to throw in there. So it seems like Lima-Lei Macfarlane is going to get that one, final title shot for her career. So let's see what happens with Macfarlane. Now moving on to the main event, we had a Bantamweight World Grand Prix final, and we had the interim Bellator Bantamweight Championship on the line as well. We had the Bellator interim champ, Rafael Stotts, taking on Patchy Mix. And holy crap, Patchy Mix, you talk about $1 million shot. He had $1 million knee, and it landed on Stotts' chin and put him out cold before he even hit the ground. He was out on his feet before his body landed on the canvas, and Patchy Mix, no need for follow-up shots. He knew it, and he is the $1 million Grand Prix winner for the Bantamweight division. He gets the interim strap, and he gets a belt for the tournament, for winning the whole tournament. So he had 2 belts and a big, fat $1 million check. Patchy Mix, he's making a case that he's one of the best bantamweights in the world, and this fight was just something I was looking forward to. I expected fireworks, and damn, I got fireworks in this fight. Shout out to Patchy Mix for putting on a highlight reel knockout. Again, that knee was so fast, I didn't even see it happen in real time. I had to watch the slow motion, and that knee landed cleanly on Stotts' chin. Now we got to see what happens with Sergio Pettis and Patricio Pitbull, because Patricio Pitbull is going for a bantamweight championship. So Patricio Pitbull could be a 3-division Bellator world champion. That is crazy to think about, but shout out to Pitbull for chasing history. So Bellator 295, a great event capped off by an amazing knee by Patchy Mix. Now, let's get to this weekend's action. UFC Fight Night, Song vs. Simon. Let's get into the card. Starting in the prelims, we have a women's bantamweight belt. We have Haley Cowan taking on Jamie Lynn Hirth. And Haley Cowan has been scheduled for 2 fights that were supposed to be for her UFC debut. Both of those fights got canceled. So this is her 3rd try trying to get her UFC debut. So hopefully this fight stays intact. Moving on, we got another women's bantamweight bout. We have Stephanie Egger taking on Arena Askiva, I believe that's how you say her name. We have a fun flyweight matchup with Cody Dern and Charles Johnson. That is a great flyweight fight. Now, moving on to the main card. Starting it off, we have a welterweight bout. We have Josh Quinlan taking on Trey Waters. Josh Quinlan had a vicious knockout in his last fight against Jason Witt. That was a brutal knockout. I believe it was a 1-punch knockout as well. And he's taking on Trey Waters, who comes in on short notice. Trey Waters did fight on Dana White's Contender Series. He was submitted, but he did bounce back with an LFA win. So now he's taking on Quinlan in this short notice opportunity. Moving on, we have a heavyweight bout. We have Marcos Rodrigo de Lama taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. Acosta is 9-0 and looks to continue his rise in the heavyweight division. Moving on, we got a featherweight bout. We have the always exciting Julian Erosa. He's taking on Fernando Padilla. And I believe Fernando Padilla, this is his UFC debut, so a tough fight for a debut. I'm very excited for this. As I said, Erosa's never in a boring fight. Moving on, we have a middleweight bout. We had Rodfilo Vera taking on Cody Brundage. We have a middleweight co-main event. We got Cario Bahario taking on Michael Askazuki. I probably butchered his last name. I apologize. But Caio Bahario, undefeated in the UFC, came off of the Contender Series. He is a very interesting player in this middleweight division. Moving on now to the main event of the evening. Obviously, this was supposed to be the original co-main event, but Armin Tsarukyan and Ricardo Moicano, that fight was scrapped because Moicano suffered a injury and speedy recovery to Marcano, because he is an exciting fighter, and Tsarukyan is also a very exciting fighter. Hopefully, they can reschedule this fight at a later date. But this is the new main event. We got Song Yadong taking on Ricky Simone. Song Yadong is only 25, but he's had a lot of experience in the UFC. He's been fighting in the UFC since 2017. His last fight did not go his way against Corey Sandhagen. It was a doctor stoppage, a really bad cut right near his eye. That's what led to the doctor stoppage. But before that doctor stoppage loss, he was on a 3-fight win streak, including 2 finishes. So he's still the future of this division. But I say it is, every fight is important, but this fight is super important for Song Yadong. He's trying to hold his position in this very crowded bantamweight division. And of course, he's going against UFC vet Ricky Simón, and he is on a big win streak. He is on a 5-fight win streak. So definitely he is no slouch. And his last win was very, very impressive. He arm triangle choked Jack Shore, who was an undefeated prospect in this bantamweight division. You got a performance of the night as well for that submission over Shore. Shore is now a featherweight, but this is going to be a fun fight. Song Yadong is so crafty with his striking, and he's just so unpredictable. He's got Uriah Faber in his corner, which is always a plus. You know, Faber knows so much about high-level competition in the bantamweight division. And like I said, Ricky Simón is no slouch. This should be a fun bantamweight main event. And that is going to do it for this episode of the KO Podcast. On Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, check my bio for the link tree. All the links that you need to have for the podcast are there listed, so go and check out the link tree in those bios. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye bye.